Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Making the Complex Simple. I'm your host, Morgan Whalen, and I'm here to talk you through my last week of entrepreneurship, tell you about some of the mistakes I made, some of the errors I had, and hopefully you can take away the lessons without having to get the scars yourself. So let's go ahead and dive right into this week. And again, this week is a lot more focused on driving traffic over to the free resource that I made. And the ultimate goal, right, as I continue to drive traffic over to my website is to get people to start services. Well, um, as I went through this week, one of the things I was looking at was, what ads are performing well, what ads aren't performing well. And last week I talked about this, but I can bring it up again. Actually, short form, surprisingly, not short form, static images surprisingly do pretty well, right? And they don't take that much effort to get started. You can look at a few other people, what they do, and you can get an idea of, okay, let me try a few ideas out. You can test a lot of variations, and then you can get traffic over to your website. Now, caveat here, as I continue to test static images as one of the two methods to drive traffic to the website, is typically they're lower quality. So you're going to get more bots or low quality leads over to the website. So it's hard to tell how much of the volume or the visitors are high quality versus like not good quality, the people that you want to be attracting. So there's that part to keep in mind that may be skewing some of the numbers. But overall, I think it's a very good way to get your feet wet. So if you are wanting to go into meta ads, maybe you start off with statics, you get your feet wet there, then you maybe focus more on like the copy or the written word. So when people click see more, they can read your copy or your marketing that you've written down to help persuade them maybe to take that next action, go to your website, fill out the instant form, whatever it may be. And so in marketing, as I continue to do this, obviously I follow some people in marketing to get some ideas or some thoughts around like what I can do to change it to see what could work. And so one of the, or not one, but two of the most powerful words I've learned recently in marketing are these. So the first one is free. So if you have something that's free, like a free resource, if you put that into your headline, if you put that into the image itself, it's going to drive more traffic. And the other thing that also drives a lot of traffic is new. So new, free are very powerful words in marketing. There's probably a few uh, words that are probably the most powerful in marketing. So think free, new. If you have like an insane 50% off, 70% off, 90% off, that's going to drive a lot of traffic. So if you can put an extreme discount in your image, that could also work too. And then, something around like ease would work too. It only takes 1 minute, it only takes 30 seconds to get whatever it is that you're promising that they would get. So those are all things to think about if you're going to go and try to do static images to try to get people to take the next action, whatever it is, and you're running ads. And I'm talking more specifically to meta ads. I'm not sure how other platforms work as much, but there you go. And so the other part that I've been testing is videos. So what I would do is, or what I have been doing is I've been doing batch creating anywhere from 30 to 60 ads at a time. So then that way I don't have to shoot all the time. And this will just depend on how much ad spend you're using. But in the beginning, when you run ads to a new offer or to a new service that you have, you need to test a lot to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so from my testing, I can tell you a few things that work and things that don't work. So, in the beginning, I was testing more of, what hooks work, and then more around like what name would I call this free resource or this free tool, what would stick with people. And once I've kind of figured out that a little bit, and I'm still testing hooks, that's something you always will be testing. The next thing I was testing was the length. So I made some videos that were 60 seconds, some that were 90 seconds, some that were around 30 seconds in length. And just to see, and obviously like a 30-second video, that's an advertisement, you have to cut out a lot of stuff. It's very direct and it has to be very simple, right? Because you have to communicate a lot in 30 seconds. to get them to take that next action. Whereas in 60 seconds and 90 seconds, in comparison, you have more time to like explain. So, what I've seen so far to work, and this is again going to a cold audience, and cold by definition just means they don't know who I am, they don't know who my business is. This is the first time they're interacting with um, my business. And so on social media, so on Instagram and Facebook. So what I found to have worked is actually surprisingly, the shorter the video and the more direct and simple, the better it does to a cold audience. Okay. And so this may be different as I test different variations for a warm audience, meaning people who interact with my content, people who interact with me organically or follow me or went to the website, right? They've already taken an action of interest. So then that's what I'm calling warm here. So for cold audience, to get them over to the website, in my case, that's the first action that I'm trying to get them to do. Short and punchy, like 30 seconds, simple works. And so I'll tell you what I'm testing out right now. Of course, once you find, I'll get into this first, which is once you find something that works. So for me, when I found like, oh, this one static image did really well at driving traffic and it was a lot lower cost per website visitor than these other ones. Well, then let me pull that thread. Let me try to make a whole bunch of variations of that and then see what works in the next round of testing. So in meta ads, and this could be in any part of the business, you test based on what you know is best practices in the industry. Once you figure out something that works for your offer or for what it is that you're trying to get them to do, you find that one or two that works and you figure out what makes that work. And then you do slight variations of that same one to see if you can get it even better. So I found right now that shorter 30-second-ish, 35-second videos that are punchy will get cold audiences to take the next action, which is to go over to the website. So if that's the case, then what I need to do is start coming up with slight variations of these 30-second, 35-second videos to see which one would be the best performing. And if I test this over enough time, I could see, is this the right traffic that I want to go over to my website? Meaning, once they go over to my website, how many of these types of visitors actually convert into take the next step? So even though you can get traffic over there, if it's not the right traffic or if they're not warmed up enough yet, and I mean warmed up by saying if they have enough information to take the next step. So do they have enough information? Do they feel confident? Do they feel like they need that thing? All those variables go into them wanting to take that next step towards you. And so I'm going to test some variations of this in the next week to 2 weeks, but I want to give you the format. So if you want to try this yourself, you can. And I want to be, more tactical with you. So then that way, it's not a lot of fluff that I'm giving. All right. So in advertising, when you're going to do a video, and I do direct to camera, and I'm the founder. So it's like founder videos, direct to camera. That's my main thing that I'm doing. You can be away from the camera. You can have someone else do it. You can pay actors, actresses. It just depends on the business that you're in, right? So I'm direct to camera, and immediately what I did in these short videos was I did a call out for who it is I was looking for. So I said, whatever, so you just fill in the blank with whatever your avatar is. Hey, moms between the age of 40 and 50, are you looking to lose weight, right? And so I do the avatar call out or who I'm wanting to work with, and then I say, what are they struggling with? So again, going back to the example, hey, moms between the age of 40 and 50, are you struggling to lose weight? That's the pain point. That's the thing that they're struggling with, right? And then you move into your free resource. Hey, I am putting on a free workout class every single Thursday at the park. And we're going to cover blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And you could also add in something like, and I've been teaching for this many years. Check out some of the results I've been able to get for other people. If you're interested, here's where it is. Here's where we'll meet. Here's the time. Boom. 30 seconds, 35 seconds. That's it. Like really, really tight. Not a lot of fluff. And I think, that works pretty well. Now, I'm going to go into something that I'm just hypothesizing at this point, but if they don't, take the next step once they go to your landing page, then Future ads, which you can target just that audience, can be a little bit longer. It could be the 60 seconds, it could be the 90 seconds, and go into more details of maybe what they're struggling with, how your free resource or the thing that you're doing can help them or benefit them, right? But short, direct, punchy, I think works very, very well. And then once you have your ad, then you could just change the front end a little bit to see what works better. So maybe you start with, hey, are you looking to get in shape this summer? Well, for moms over between the ages of 40 and 50, we're holding these free, right? One of the power words, free classes in the park from 5 to 6 p.m. every single Thursday. Come out and join. We have a big group of people so you can socialize, network, all that good stuff. You'll find the description all the information you need. Boom, that's it, right? So that's the whole thing. And then you can vary, like, do you want to call out who you want first and then what they may be wanting, or the pain that they're experiencing, right? Those are the two variations that usually you can have when you start. So you either talk to the pain. So it's like, can you not fit into your high school jeans, right? That's a pain point. Or it could be dream outcome, the thing that they're wanting, which is, do you want to get in summer shape? Do you want to have six pack? Do you want to have blah, 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 right? So you just those combinations. So it's who you want to come to the free thing or download your free resource or come to your workshop, and then either a pain point that they're experiencing and or a dream outcome that they want. And then you can flip flop the order if you want to. Keep it short, keep it punchy, one thing, and then talk about your free resource, how it helps them. You can sprinkle in some proof if you want to. Proof just means, why should they trust you? So it could be, we've helped this many people, we've transformed this many lives, or hey, I've been a personal trainer for this many years, I've won these competitions. It's something to get them to believe that you know what you're talking about and you can help them, or you can do the thing that you're saying you're doing. Right? You could say, hey, we have 1,000 5-star reviews. That's another way to show that, right? Social proof. But you get the idea. So I'm going to be doing that a little bit more this week. And of course, I'll let you know how it goes. So if I find that it actually works and it gets people over to the website at a lower cost and more people are converting and it's all green, then I'll let you know. If I change something up because it's not working the way I thought it would, I'll let you know. But that's the thing. I'm kind of at this intersection between testing to see what works and then doubling down on it to see if that actually provides the results that I think it should. And so as an experiment, some of the stuff isn't tried and true proven. It's more as learning as I go. So take it with a grain of salt. And if you're in the experimentation phase, this could be something you add to your arsenal, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to be the one thing if you're already running ads, but you could try it out. Do 1 or 2 ads like that. And if it starts working, then you do a little bit more. And then test different variations and see which one gets you the better result. So that's a little update on marketing, the advertising, and what I've been working on this last week and some of the gems, right? A lot of failures. As I'm testing, just to give you an idea, like I'll go through anywhere from 10 to 20 videos in a week to test to see what works. And so I went through this on a podcast or two ago, but essentially I'll look to see, is it getting people to watch? Are people clicking? How expensive is it for me to run this ad? And if it doesn't hit all the markers, then I'm going to cut it at a certain point. And so for me, that's either 200 impressions or between $20 to $30. I found, for most videos, it depends on your ad spend, right? But for me, it'd take like $10 just to get it even like going, the video going, to see if it even starts to pick up. So the first $10 in the spend really doesn't tell you too much. The next 10 to 20 that you spend really starts dialing in, because then the algorithm has enough information to put it in front of the right people to see if it'll work or not. So there's that. And then the other thing too that I found interesting is, like, with these shorter, punchier 30-second clips or video ads, you're not going to get as good of a hook rate typically, because you just got to condense it down so much that your hook rate isn't going to be as good. But again, for me, it's driving people over to the website at a lower cost per click. So if that works and my hook rate's abysmal, meaning like 10%, 15% instead of like 30, 40, that doesn't matter to me. As long, like, the cost per landing page view is more important to me than the hook rate. So if I can get people over for a lot less, then that's great. And what do I mean by a lot less? Well, once you start testing ads, you're going to have a baseline of like, okay, on average, let's just, for simple numbers, it costs us $5 to get someone over to our landing page. But if you have, you test a new style or variation, you can get them to for like $3 per landing page. That's great. Um, so it's all relative to like your ads, your offers, your business. So from what I say, it could vary, it could be different. So don't take what I'm saying the numbers wise, but use it more as kind of a reference point. And once you start trying it yourself, if you decide to do this, then you'll figure out your own numbers for your business, your industry. So unless you're working in the same exact industry as me, it won't probably be 100% apples to apples. So there's that. And then I wanted to share with you, I was working with a business owner this week. And I see this quite often. And so I hit on this as well in podcasts pretty frequently. But, as you are going through your business journey, you're going to find that you're going to want to try a lot of things. And I think that's really important in the beginning. Just like I was just talking about in ads and testing, like I'm trying a lot of different variations within the realm of ads to see what can I do to be most efficient with my ad dollar spend to get me the desired result that I'm looking for. And so I think a lot of business owners want to try like 3, 4, 5, 10 things. Nothing wrong with that. And so I think what the conclusion that I'm coming to is you definitely don't want to miss out on low-hanging fruit, but you got to know like how much to spend where. So, if you, for example, I'm working with this business owner who does interior remodeling. And, if you have network and you have connections, that's low-hanging fruit. Like if you've known them for years and they're willing to give you business, great. Like don't burn those bridges. Take what comes to you, right? And so that's like playing the hand that you have. So if you have a network already, great. If you have people that really enjoy what you did for them, as far as for your product or your service, and they refer you, that's fantastic. That's great. But those aren't, typical. Those are like the outliers. They happen every once in a while, and you can't rely on them to grow a business because at a certain point they plateau. And so I think other low-hanging fruit too could be, a post or two on social media. That's low-hanging fruit. Probably doesn't take up too much time from someone. But if you have someone on your team that's doing like, okay, they need to run all of your social media and they need to do all of the networking events and they need to do like 2 or 3 other things. Okay, then you're spreading them in like 25% in each of these categories to try to get more people to come in. So when you do it that way, then you're spreading them too thin and you're losing the ability to just focus on one. So to me, I would say, how can we do maybe 5 and 10% in these other areas and focus, 60, 70, 80% on what we feel like is the main avenue to attract the clients that we want. So if it's, networking and getting in touch with your local community, that's the main one, then, 80% of your time should be there and maybe 5% on social media, and maybe 5% is calling up, local businesses or cold DMing or writing emails or whatever it is, right? Writing blog posts, if you do that, whatever your other methods are. So again, 80% should go to the main thing that you feel like is going to drive the business forward. And then the other 5s to 10s will come from low-hanging fruit in other areas where it pays off a little bit to be in more area than one. And then whenever you kind of exhaust your main channel that you're getting people to come in from, then you can look at your other ones that you've nurtured a little bit and see which one, okay, if we had to pick a second one, what would it be? And then keep on going. And so once you figure out the one that works for you, just stick to it. And so for the business owner I was working with, I was like, you got to pick one. So in the case of a remodeling business, it could be, you can work with real estate agents, you can work with brokerage firms, you can work with insurance agents, you can work with engineers, you get it. But there's businesses that you can work with, i.e. affiliates, and they can refer you business, you can refer them business, and then it's usually a symbiotic relationship. You can go to where your avatar is at like the DIY store, so the tile store, Home Depot, Lowe's, and look for people who are doing projects and see if you can help them, right? Pretty much go where your avatar is. And so I was like, there's so many different ways to um, get more leads for your business. You just got to pick one, stick with it. And if you like it, then you just keep on doing it over and over and over again till you're good enough to train someone else. And then you can replace your time with their time. And so this business owner that I was talking to ended up deciding to do door to door knocking. I was like, okay, that works. Door to door is fine. And so as they're doing a job in a community, they're going to go around, knock on all the doors, right? And so that works. And if they're not available, leave the business card, see what happens. And so it started working for the business owner, right? It's nothing magical. It's just doing the one thing that you feel like is going to help you, and then just stick to that one thing. And so for some of you, you're like, well, I'm really good in front of camera. Okay, so then maybe social media, YouTube, something like that. For others, you're like, I actually have a really good, I'm really good at building relationships. Okay, maybe networking events, maybe door-to-door sales, those types of things. So you got to figure out like what works for you and then stick with it. And that's your main one. Not to say you can't hit low-hanging fruit in other areas, but for the most part, that's where you want to stick. And so that really helped. And then with that same business owner, as I was talking to him, I was like, well, how do you sell? And he was walking me through, and I was like, well, when you talk to homeowners in this instance, do you explain what you're doing and you say it'll cost this much and you kind of frame it like an expense, or do you frame it like an investment? And this is a huge point for sales, which is, in his instance with his industry and what he sells as a service, really the remodeling, it actually improves the value of the home, right? So it is an investment. You're investing into, for what most people is your primary asset, your biggest asset, which is the home. You're raising the value of the home. And so I was like, why don't you mention those things when you're going through and talking to these homeowners? And that way they can think about it in their mind as like, oh, okay, it's not just an expense, but it's something that raised the value of the home. And if we ever decide to move, we could sell it and recoup some or all the cost. So it's important to know, in whatever it is that you're selling, is it an investment to the business owner? Is it an investment to the consumer? Is it an investment to whoever it is that you're working with? And if you can frame it like that from a financial standpoint, or maybe like future potential. If you're selling like a skill, like, hey, we'll train you in this thing and then you'll be able to make this much money. That's what colleges do, right? Hey, come to us for 4 years, you'll get a degree, you'll get all this education, and then now you'll be able to make more money. So that's their primary selling point. And so think of it like an investment. So if you are in a business, try to figure out how you can frame what you do as an investment to the person you're selling it to rather than an expense. And so again, those are kind of the main points that I was thinking about this week of, once you have a channel, or if you don't know a channel, just try one. The whole thing is there's like 10, 20 different ways to get leads. They all work. You just got to pick one and stick with the one. That's the key. Instead of trying 10 and saying none of them work. It's just that you haven't gone through enough repetitions to find out what works for that method that you chose, and then do it enough times to work out all of the kinks to get it to where now it's a flowing river. And so just like I explained to you with ads, in the process I'm going through, the business owners that I work with, they have different ways to get leads, but it's a continual process of like, can we refine it? How can we get more? How can we fix some of the areas where it's leaking and we're not getting people to convert or start services or whatever it is? And then once you have it, it's just doing it over and over and over, perfecting the whole way that you're getting leads, and then training others on how to do it. And then that's how you'd remove yourself as the business owner from that process, but still know exactly how it should work. So if you have to come back in and plug a hole or two, you'll know because you're the one who built it. So that's the advantage of doing it yourself rather than hiring an agency or someone else to do it for you. So it really is just a trade-off of, do you want the experience? Do you want to invest the time? Do you want to invest the money? Or do you want to have someone come in and do it for you? That's quicker, but then now you're more reliant on them. And so if they ever leave, they're taking all their knowledge, all their experience, how to get leads, how to work them all the way to becoming customers. They take all that with them. So wherever you're at in life, like, people can't take away from you the skills that you learned and the knowledge that you have. So, even if your business doesn't work, but you know how to get leads, it doesn't matter. You're going to be extremely valuable if you decide to go work for someone else or if you want to start your second thing. So I always value wanting to learn it myself, even though I know it's going to take me more time. I value learning it because now I have a skill that is irreplaceable and it makes me more valuable no matter what I decide to do moving forward. So that's it for this one. I wanted just to share an update of, what I'm working through some of the business owners that I work with and personally. If you have anything that stuck out to you in this podcast, let me know. And if there's something that you want me to cover in more detail, let me know too on social media. You can, just tag me. I think it's Morgan E. Whalen on Instagram. That's probably the one I'm on the most. So you can just tag me, let me know, or send me a comment. And just say, hey, if you could give me more detail on whatever it is, then maybe I can work that into another episode. So that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. And again, if you want to watch the podcast, I do have it on YouTube. You can just type in my name, or I think you can just type in the podcast name, Making the Complex Simple, or Morgan Whalen. It should be able to pop up on there. I tried putting a link in the description, but that was a whole thing. But that's it for this one. And thanks for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.